But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, F.E. Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, JMels24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Jin, Neil, and a couple of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
How you doing, folks? Wishing you all the best festivities and happy holidays to you all, especially in the flip side, and those of you who are listening on the live stream. Thank you very much. There you go.
Oh, what a lovely extra bit to the intro. Thank you, Jin. Happy Christmas to you all. How you all doing? You all ready for the festive season? Ready for Santa to come down your chimneys?
Me and Neil were just discussing dishpan hands and how Neil doesn't like to do the washing up. And I've been doing it all my life and that, so I don't mind it. How about you, Nathan? Do you get to do the washing up? Your marigold gloves?
I've got a dishwasher. I was listening to Radio 1 yesterday, and they were suggesting that if you put the word festive in front of almost anything or any activity during the Christmas period, it turns into the Christmas equivalent or the Christmas version of it. So in terms of your dishwasher, you can have festive dishwashing. Obviously, if you've got your posh plates in there, it becomes a festive dishwasher.
Yeah, sounds funny.
There is nothing
true,
festive about doing dishes.
What if you're washing up the Christmas plates? Then it's festive washing up.
It's a pain in the ass.
Speaking of pain in the asses, I've got an issue with my preamplifier that I used to do all the microphone demos on, and I've got two channels on it. I use one for the microphone that I've got now. So this microphone that you can see in camera now is what I run on microphone level, line level 1. And then if I do a little voiceover to show something that I'm selling, I then use microphone line 2 to show the actual microphone working. I've done 4 recordings today, one specifically for this microphone up here, which looks like a big dick. I mean, most mics look like a big dick, but this one's very dick looking. Check it out. WM422.
I think that's women's favourite, probably.
I only bought it because it was so phallic looking. But I did the recording for it, as I do, and then went back to the recording. I'm like, why is it covered in hiss? Is there something wrong with this microphone? And then I went to the next mic that I'd done a recording with, which is this, a Sony F25, and it had the same exact issue. And then I remembered, oh yeah, my SSL2, this is now the second one I've had. The first one had the exact same problem, which was to say it had crackling on the second channel. Very irritating, because I've wasted about an hour making recordings saying this microphone is the very phallic looking Panasonic WM422. And then you listen back and go, well, I'm not going to now be editing this. I'm now going to have to go and record it all again, which is extremely irritating. So I've sent a message to Solid State Logic and said, look, I need 2 lines. I need to do my recordings. I need to flog these stupid microphones to pay my bleeding mortgage. And instead I'm having to waste a load of time with a channel that creates a load of hiss. You know, because it sounds like the microphone's broken, which is irritating me. So it might be the case that I end up getting a different preamplifier. I've asked Santa. And then my wife got me a Road Angel, because I drive too fast, and she bought me a device to replace the one that I've had for about 10 years, also by Road Angel. And she's got in touch with the eBayer, because we can't afford £300 for this device, so she bought one second hand for about £100. And it came today, and it didn't have a dash mount, wasn't the pure one that's got a radar detector on it, and didn't work. I'm like, oh my God. She asked specifically, obviously, does it work? Is it tested? Does it come with a dash mount? And is it the one that's got a radar detector? And he's like, yeah, all of the above. So she paid her £100, and then it got here and didn't even turn on. So that was irritating. What else?
So none of the above.
None of the above. The only thing that did work beautifully was I was my own Santa and bought myself a little wireless transmitter, so that when I go out or answer the door or something like that, or use the loo, I can carry a wireless mic around with me. So typically when you guys are like, blah, 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 Nathan, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm in the other room taking delivery, and I just didn't mention that I'd left my chair, I can't then respond. Whereas if I'm literally carrying a radio mic with me, I can just turn it on there and then, hopefully in a second or two, and go, yes, or stop fighting, stop talking over each other, or something to that effect. So I got one of those, and that did work, and I've tested that. So there we go. So that's been my morning of testing things that don't work because of a faulty channel on my Solid State Logic.
Well, my morning was one of repairing the soles to my hiking boots and running shoes, which saw them come apart in the hottest summer we had this year in Japan. So that means the tarmac and the pavements and that were really hot, that it heated the soles of my boots and running shoes to the curing point where they came apart. Can you believe that? Because I'm doing running like 5 miles. Okay, so that's, if you're doing a 5-mile run every other day, right, and that's what happened. So the soles of my running shoes and boots have come apart. That's 3 pairs, okay, have come apart. And this morning I went to the DIY shop to buy some proper bonded adhesive to repair those, and I was doing that this morning. But the only problem is it takes 24 hours for them to actually get, for them to bond properly. So I haven't got any clamps to clamp them down, so they're not fully, around the edges is not quite sealed yet. So I've got to do more work. Go ahead.
You know why? Because, if the earth is flat, your shoes won't wear out. It's because you're running around a spherical earth, so your shoes wear out.
Yeah, I'm up and down in the hills and that, staircases and that, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment.
I used to run to my local Tesco, which is 2.5 miles away, and then just run straight back again. And I remember on one particular occasion, because when you're running, I don't know what the actual speed you're doing is. Let's say it's 5 or 6 miles an hour, quicker than walking pace, right? Well, I remember running up a particular hill, and I'm just keeping my normal pace, and there's all this group of kids, and they started hurling abuse at me as I was running up the hill, right? And as I got close to them, one of them, I can't remember the insult, it was a couple of years ago, but hurled the insult at me as I was running past. Now, the assumption is that, like a car, you'll just keep going, right? Now, when you're running, you can, and I did, just stop on the spot right next to this group of kids. Now, I'm pretty tall, I'm about 6'2". So I'm quite a big guy. I'm quite imposing. When you're standing right next to me, I'm quite big. So suddenly these kids that are hurling abuse at me, at this, it's just some guy running, right? I stop and I'm like, what did you say? I'm suddenly towering over all these kids because they didn't expect me to just stop, on the spot there and then while doing my 5-mile run.
Kids, Nathan.
Say again?
Scaring the kids like that.
The neighborhood troublemakers.
Well, they're little troublemakers. But like I say, what amused me was the fact that you can just stop, right? If you're running, you just stop on a dime. It's not like you're a car and you need a little bit of breathing space. You can just stop. So I stopped right in front of them. I'm like, what?
Yeah. What did you say?
Exactly.
Hey, Nathan, that goes way back into biblical days where these little kids were abusing a prophet of God, calling him a bald man. Get up there, bald man, get up there. And you know what happened? A she-bear came out of the woods and mangled them.
Oh, right. Very good.
I'll find the scripture. I'll give it to you.
I mean, I've got this I've got to kind of try and shed it, to be honest, because it's not a good trait to have. When they say, be careful you don't become the monster you're fighting against. Well, that's kind of how I feel when I'm responding to comments at the moment. So I'll see a comment from somebody who's a little bit vindictive and a little bit rude towards flat earthers. That is to say, they'll call you stupid or something. And I have started to, and I've got to stop doing it, echoing the sentiment that we've suffered for the last 10 years. So I'll start saying, well, perhaps you should be finding a tall building to prove gravity with, perpendicular to a plane of reference for a downward vector that requires a flat earth measurement for the height of the building off surface level or sea level, which is also measured flat. Were you dropped on your head from a distance also measured perpendicular to a plane of reference? These sort of sentiments are me echoing the abuse that we've suffered for about 10 years. I shouldn't do it. I'm as bad as them if I do.
You want to hear it, Nathan?
Hear what?
The scripture with the kids mocking. And he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up the way, there came forth little children out of the city and mocked him and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head. Go up, thou bald head. And he turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the woods and tare 42 children of them. So messing around with the prophet of God, you're going to get 2 she-bears tearing up 42 kids. That's in the Bible.
Old Testament, I take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Old Testament's brutal, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It was very brutal.
Yeah, it's all fire and brimstone in the Old Testament. And then suddenly it all changes tact and it all becomes about Jesus.
Yeah,
Well, it's about Jesus from beginning to end. It's just that when the dispensation of grace, whereas there was strict judgment coming on them, and now you're in a dispensation period of grace where it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance, and that can only come through his sacrifice. But there's a lot of things that transpired in the Old Testament. There's a lot of smitten and smoting going on.
Why is Sensual Goat got Piers Morgan on his thumbnail?
Because he's a cheeky bastard.
It's Christmas.
How you doing? Welcome. I was going to say, going back to your comments against the Globers, I think all's fair in love and war and that. And the thing is, your intention when you go on, when you go out and you do your shows and then look in the comments, your intention is not to be abusing anybody. So why should you be taking abuse? You know what I mean? Fair is fair. If somebody says something that is derogatory, rude and that, well, you can respond the way you did and then you move on. You're not really being horrible to the person.
No, I am. I absolutely am.
Tit for tat.
Tit for tat is me echoing the sentiments of the abuse that I've received makes me the monster that I'm fighting against, doesn't it? If I say you should jump off a building and prove your gravity perpendicular to a plane of reference that's measured from a flat surface level with the building's height off a flat earth elevation measurement from sea level, then I'm making my point, but also echoing the sentiment that they've put towards me. Well, that just makes me the monster that they are, doesn't it?
It just makes you right to respond the way you can. What is it? Turning the other cheek and all that.
Yeah, well, that's what I should do. I shouldn't suggest that their children should be taken away or they should.
No, I'm talking about. I take it in reverse, turning their other cheek and give them a slap on the other cheek as well. That's what I'm on about.
Well, to give context to the bear story, it was a very idolatrous city, and they knew that man of God, who he was. And it wasn't it was, how can you say, did they deserve it? I don't know. But
Well, that's what
it was a
turning
very
the other cheek
idolatrous
means, though, doesn't
city.
it? To turn the other cheek is to suggest that if somebody slaps you in the face, you offer them your other cheek to slap also. That is to say...
Yeah,
I know that.
I take their cheek, slap them on one side and slap them on the other.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
got that. Yeah. But then you're just becoming the monster that they are.
Well, when I went to the Mardi Gras and I preached the gospel in the French Quarter, and they threatened to put me on the cross and throw AIDS infested blood on me, there was no turning the other cheek. The guy that I was with said, listen, if they hit you, you can't hit them back. You'll blow your testimony. I said, well, look, I'll turn the other cheek, but on the second swing, if you don't put me away, then he's mine.
Yeah, that's not really turning the other cheek.
There it is. I gave him 2 shots. If you don't put me away in 2 shots, this is back then when I was in good shape. I was in my 30s, fit like a rock. They would have had to really grab me and tie me down if they were going to put me on that cross, because I wasn't having it.
Yeah,
But it was a very hostile area.
God suggested that you tell them you better kill me with the first punch because you won't be getting a second. You know what I mean?
Well, I got that from the pastor of my church. He said, look, you can turn the other cheek, but, you got to defend yourself. So I was like, okay. Second, that means I turn the other cheek, and if I'm still standing, I can go at him. So that's my story on turning the other cheek.
For all the abuse that we do suffer, it would be unfair if we were to suggest that upon the revelation of an understanding of Flat Earth, we were to turn around and say, right, all of the people who've abused us over the 10 years, they should suffer what they have suggested we suffer. I don't see that as reasonable. I know I've gone through this on a previous show, but I don't think that's the way to go. In other words, we'd be perpetuating the same cycle, just in antithesis in terms of who's right and who's wrong. But the treatment, if we were to suggest that they have their balls cut off and are forced off tall buildings, have their children taken away and are locked up in mental hospitals, as has been put to us for 10 straight years, that does just make us as bad as them.
Yeah, I think the majority of them would realise their mistake anyway, and that's painful enough for them. I think the fact that they've had to now eat humble pie and flat Earth humble pie, that is, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I think that's punishment enough.
Yeah, I kind of don't. That's why I've found myself echoing their own sentiments back to them. Yeah, in other words, because of the abuse that I've suffered, you should suffer the same. It's like that's how people end up beating their kids, because they were beaten as kids. So like the justification is that you suffered it, therefore your kids should suffer it. Nah, you definitely shouldn't take that attitude.
No, I meant that the realization that they're wrong is punishment enough. You know what I mean?
That.
We don't have to resort to their methods. The fact that they realize that they're wrong, I think the psychological, emotional embarrassment, let's say, that would be enough, I think. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is when it's directed at us, we are very much in a minority, right? It's not like we've got the consensus behind us, backing us up, lifting us up on their shoulders. So when your average skank and file, globe-believing numpty like Professor Dave explains, pours scorn on people like us, they're doing it from a position where they've got the entire crowd of people behind them. They've got the consensus behind them. Well, to me, that demonstrates abject cowardice.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100% there, yeah. But I'm also listening to your sentiment that you don't think it's reasonable for us to say to them, right, they deserve to get all of the abuse that we've got, that we've received. I don't think they deserve, I understand your sentiment there. And I think, I think their realization that they're in the wrong is punishment enough. That's what I think anyway.
Maybe. I mean, there might be an exception to that rule in terms of the people who've actually doled it out, because I think for the majority of people, most people aren't vocal in the way that those individuals like your Craig McNeils and your Simon Dans and your Professor Dave Explains and your Dave McKeegan's, those people literally pour scorn on us. Maybe they do deserve punishment because they've pretended to be the vocal majority. They're not, but they've pretended to be. They've got the majority behind them, backing them up in terms of their belief. But now it's coming to the head that it is, which is to say we know Earth's measured flat. And the public, who are measuring Earth flat, are having a bridge between us and them built. That is to say, you, the general public, require Earth be flat. You require it for navigation, you require it for flight, surveying. Anything to do with Earth measurement is measured flat by the normies. Now, up until this point, because there's a church belief foisted upon us from our early education, means that the wankers of this world, that's your Dave McKeegans and your Simon Dans and your Professor Dave's Explaining and your Craig McNeils, felt that they were justified with the masses behind us pouring scorn on us, telling us we should have our kids taken away. Well, maybe they should be punished. Not the general public who eventually turn around and go, we always knew it was flat. That's exactly how we've always been measuring it. Why wouldn't we understand that? We're not stupid after all. We always really knew that it was a religion of a heliocentric world based on the flat Earth measurements that we all measure. That doesn't change that there is people out there who have poured scorn and pretended they're the vocal majority when they're not. They're anti-flat earthers.
Yeah, you know what, Nathan? I don't know anybody who I can say always knew it was. I don't know that person. I don't know those group of people. I've never met them. The people I know I'm going to be meeting, they thought they were on a globe when they were measuring that up level and flat. They didn't. They cannot say to me, "Oh, I knew it was. I always knew it was flat." I'll be calling them a liar right out of the bat.
Oh, well,
right on the off.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I mean, again, it's one where, in respect to their lies in this regard, you'd have to turn the other cheek. That is to say, in the face of some normie saying, I always knew it was flat, when they've not spent a single second being ridiculed and abused by the pretend vocal majority, with the masses of consensus behind them in their belief, they haven't learned, as we have, how heliocentrism fails, so we can find our way on a path to righteousness in terms of how the normie does actually measure Earth. As you rightly point out, those people who were measuring Earth flat still thought they were on a ball. So when they turn around and say, I always knew it was flat, that's how I've always been measuring it, with my trig points, with my straight and level flight, with my rise over run, with my surveys, with my mapping, with my charting, with my sailing, with my celestial navigation, with anything that involves Earth measurement, because it's all flat, they'll be lying. Because they didn't. They did measure Earth flat. They always did. They always will. But they still, as you point out, believed they were on a ball. They'll just be lying when they say they always knew that wasn't the case because they were measuring Earth flat. That would be a lie. I'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everyone in Discord. I haven't had a peep out of you so far. I've got Flat Earth Cafe, James, Dank, Surf Daddy, Noob. How you all doing? You all good? Happy Christmas to you all.
Yeah. I hope you're going to enjoy your day tomorrow and that. So hopefully you'll have a good festive break and enjoyment with your family and friends and that. Yeah, please, chime in. Don't wait for us. Stick a boot in, mate.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys. It's good to be here. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, and don't be eating the Christmas cake so early. He's eating the Christmas cake already, ladies and gentlemen, and the custard.
I really like at Christmas that my wife gets. She gets bottles of Coca-Cola, like the little 330ml bottles, and they're one of my favourite things in the whole wide world. I love having little bottles of really cold Coca-Cola over the Christmas period, and she buys maybe dozen, maybe 2 dozen. I'll sup them down all the way up to Christmas and through Christmas. Love them.
It's so much better with a glass bottle than a can.
Yeah,
How do you like those cookies?
Very nice. Who's that?
My wife made them and she's boxing them up for people at work. So, yeah, these are homemade, delicious.
How do I make it big? Keep it. Oh, you've taken them off screen already. Oh, well.
Yeah, we tend to have the Christmas pudding. That's what we like. Christmas pudding. I've never bought my children Coca-Cola. I never will. So that's not something we look forward to in our house. But yeah, the Christmas pudding, yeah, that's great. You can buy that. We buy that from a place called Isetan, which is the same as like what's the equivalent? Marks and Spencer's, department store, right? You can go in Japanese version and you go to the delicatessen area and then you get your Christmas puddings there. Yeah, I love Christmas pudding, so I do like that, I must say.
Well,
and I do fire it up as well.
A Japanese Christmas dinner is KFC.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that used to be a thing, but you find nowadays.
No way.
It used to be.
I wasn't joking.
That's years ago. That was before I came to Japan. Since I've been in Japan, I don't see anybody eating KFC for Christmas dinner. They actually, if they want to have Christmas dinner, they actually go to, like I said, these department stores and they go buy it. And if you go to Costco, they're all running in there, picking it up and running out with it. So, no, they're into the Christmas dinner like the Western world, I'll have to say. All the trimmings.
Oh, okay. So it's stopped being a tradition in Japan where they literally have queues out the door of KFCs around the country.
No, you don't see that happening now. No way, man.
I tell you what, they got a better system then because you don't got much of a cleanup. Let me tell you, the cleanup is heavy duty on these Italian freaking Christmas Eve meals and then Christmas Day. Oh my goodness. Too much. The cleanup is too much.
Yeah, and Boxing Day, no doubt.
They don't know what
we
Boxing
don't
Day
have
is.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, they don't have that, Jin. That's us as Brits that we have that.
Yeah. Boxing Day, ladies and gentlemen, is the opportunity for those who didn't have a Christmas dinner to actually have one and get presents given to them as well from around the community. Usually it's a Christian thing. And they go around to the houses where they know poor people are, and they give the presents out. Also, those who are working for the elites, who own mansions and that, the butlers and the chambermaids, they get their presents given to them in a box, Christmas box with all their presents in it on Boxing Day, because it's given in a box. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the Boxing Day thing is all about.
It's the rich throwing a crumb to the poor.
Kind of. The original reason for it being called Boxing Day was because the church would take in their tidings in a box, and on Boxing Day, that box would be opened and offered to the poor.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's how the early church operated, right? Everything was brought to the disciples' feet, and they picked out 7 holy men. I think it's 7 or 3. I'm not sure. And they were in charge of making sure that the widows, the fatherless, and the needy were taken care of, and everyone in the church lived common. So that is an early church tradition. There was no social status. They gave everything. So we've gone a far away from that.
Yeah. I remember one Christmas during the 1970s. So I would have been maybe a first year or second year in secondary school, okay? And one evening, Christmas evening, we didn't have a bell, we had a door knocker, bam, 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 bam. So my dad says, go and answer the door. I goes, okay, so weren't expecting anyone. Open the door, and there's a bloody, guess what, outside the door? Do you remember the game called bar football? You remember bar football, Nathan? Anybody?
Yeah,
bar football? Yeah, we had one of those outside the front door, complete, ready to go. So I just brought it in. I looked around, didn't see anybody. And up until today, I never knew who left it.
No way.
That's what we got. Yeah.
Hold on a second. Santa Claus came to your house?
Well, somebody did. It must have been.
That's a great story, man.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. They dropped it right outside the house. They opened the door. I said, wow, bar football. And I looked around, I didn't see anybody. I said, well, okay, let me bring it in. And we had a great time with it.
Meanwhile, you find out later that somebody dropped it off at the wrong house.
Yeah.
You know what my friends used to do, Jin? This was bad, but they used to do it. Christmas Eve, they would buy like freaking 2 cases of wine, Thunderbird, and they would drive through the city and they would find the winos that were sleeping and leave a fresh bottle there for them.
Wow. Okay, that was a nice touch kind of thing, wasn't it?
Well, for them it must have been. But it was sort of like, let's look out for the bums. They want wine, so
that reminds
they buy 2 cases of wine and give it to the winos.
That reminds me of a Mitchell and Webb sketch where Mitchell and Webb are at the Christmas gathering with family, and they're giving each other presents, and it comes to the Mitchell character, and he's like, "What did you get me this year? Is it heroin?" He's like, "Yeah." "Oh, brilliant! It's what I always wanted." And everyone's bought him heroin.
There's been a time in my life when I would welcome that.
Yeah, hilarious. Yeah. In Britain as well, though, I'm still wondering, do they still do that where they have those soup kitchens and that, and the homeless go and get fed and that? Do they still do that in Britain?
Kind of. They have like gatherings of food at the front of each supermarket. So if you go to your local Sainsbury's, there's a little basket at the end of each checkout. Not at the end of each, but at the end of all of them, like in the middle, there'll be a basket somewhere where you can donate non-perishable food, and then they take that to something called a food bank. And then those who are more in need than yourself, we would hope, can go to the food bank and acquire non-perishable food from the food bank. A bit like you used to do when you used to do the, what is it called at Easter when you were a kid at school and you'd go to the church with all your tins? I've forgotten what they call it now. You know what I'm talking about, right? You'd have been in London doing that in the 70s.
They do it in the States now.
Doing that particular thing, no. In Easter, no.
Yeah, at Easter.
Penny for the guy, yeah, but not that stuff. Someone
not
doing
penny
that
for the guy. Anyway, that's what we have here. We have food banks.
Oh, that's good. As long as you're trying, because I know all over the city they have the Salvation Army has soup kitchens everywhere. Now, one time when I was working with my brother, and I didn't have my vehicle yet, I would have to take the train everywhere. And it was freaking late at night. I had no freaking food, and one of these vans had opened up, right? And I seen a line, so I asked, "What's this?" They were like, "Oh, they give out food here." So I was like, "Hey, let me see what it is." So I got right on the line. I got handed a big styrofoam thing of soup. It was supposed to be meatball soup, and inside it was a bag with a bagel and some milk and some water. Nathan, when I tell you this soup was so freaking good, it was delicious. And I found out it's from like a 5-star restaurant that would send, an abundance out, and they would pack it up and they would bring it to these trucks that went out to the homeless. But this soup was delicious. I can never find it again. But outstanding. I'm like, they're eating better than I am.
Good. Oh, not good that they're eating better than you, but good that they're, well looked after. And
They're being taken care of. But it was delicious. I told my wife, she's like, "You got on that line?" I was like, "Yeah, I was hungry." I'm like, I had no money on me. What do you want me to do? I went on the line and I got a free soup. And it turned out to be delicious. I didn't want, and I thought there'd be like 3 or 4 meatballs in there. There was meatballs through the whole entire styrofoam cup of soup. It was brilliant.
got meatballs in it. You can't call that soup.
Yeah, because it had like you know how chicken noodle soup is? It was similar to that, but it had like meatballs, like not big meatballs, but not tiny ones either. Like there had to be at least 15 meatballs in this soup. Yeah, it was like a meal.
Yeah, sounds great. No, it's good that we look after our homeless, and you are looking after our homeless when Neil's not stealing their soup, that is.
Hey, wait a second. I was actually homeless at the time because I had nowhere to lay my head, and I had no moolah.
Oh, well, then you were genuinely homeless.
Absolutely. So I got to my brother's office, then I had a bed to lay on.
Ah, that's different. Oh, no, to an office. No, well, that's not the same either.
Nathan, you'd be surprised how many people are on that line that weren't homeless.
Fair enough.
So what are we going to do? We're going to flat earth today at all? Because I know there's people that are hungry for it. There's guys that come in. I was speaking to them earlier in Discord, and they like missed the times when you went into 24/7 and just annihilated ballers. And it reminded me that was the attraction of Nathan Oakley and FED, because ballers were getting annihilated and would give us like the victory, the gratification. And we just don't get it no more. So a lot of people are longing for that.
What you're telling me is that people had bloodlust and they used to enjoy watching my blood pressure rise as I got irritated with ballers and put them in their place by pointing out how they had a globe that failed. Well, in modern times, that's not necessary. It really isn't. I see that whole process as completely redundant. In fact, it assists the idea that there is a debate to have when there isn't. What I want to now do, moving forward, and we have been for about 6 months, maybe a bit less, is bridge the gap between the normal people who just measure Earth flat and us. Now, the fact that we've been doing that for a little while, and then I can't remember who it was on the last show that we had on Monday or whatever day it was, somebody said that they heard a hint that the censorship from YouTube would start to be lifted or lessened, lightened, whatever the word you want to use is. And I think, yeah, that makes sense. If you're perceived as Google, the people who are measuring Earth flat in Google Earth and Google Maps and using positional data from flat Earth elevation angles, rise over run, surveying, to demonstrate how they've measured Earth flat and how it's represented as flat in all of their applications, are simultaneously censoring us for not believing it's a ball when all of their measurements show that it isn't, they're going to be cast asunder by a lot of people. So I would assume that before the transition takes place, they need to step right off the censorship train that they've been putting on us for the last 5 years. Otherwise, people will start abandoning them. If they say, well, you lied to us, Google. You knew it was flat. Here are all your flat measurements. But yet you censored the people who were pointing that out.
Oh, wow, got a nice super chat.
Yeah, $200. Is it $200? Is it $20? I can't quite tell. Let's go and see. Wrong one. I can't read who it is either. Can you see who it is?
Pablo. Your friend Pablo.
Thank you very much.
Says Merry Christmas, everyone.
No, it's $20.
Well done, Pablo.
Thank
well
you for
done,
the
mate.
super chat, Pablo. Really appreciate the $20. Thank you very much. I should really put it on screen, shouldn't I? There we go.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone, he says. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Much obliged.
I understand what you're saying about that, but there's a part of it that was I agree, it's not needed anymore. But it can get into it, even if you're bringing them to the measurements, Nathan. They try to lure it back into an argument, and you got to stay firm on the measurements. We were talking about that in Discord this morning. Guy was asking about gravity. What do I do when people say things go down? And so you really got to bring them back to the measurements. Otherwise, they'll take you all different directions.
Well,
what I've found...
Directionality itself is flat. So when you say all different directions, what, north, south, east, and west, they're flat. When you say gravity, what, perpendicular to a plane of reference in a downward orientation, down is perpendicular to a plane of reference. Earth is measured flat when you describe out-of-date 110-year-old gravity. You need a flat Earth to describe it. So when you say take them back to the flat measurements, they're already using them to suggest that you're moving in a downward vector perpendicular to a plane, or moving in a direction perpendicular to a plane also.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying to these Globers, not the ones on the doing the circuit. I'm not, the newbies that are coming in. That's what I explained to them. That in order to have gravity the way you think it exists, you need a flat Earth for that first and foremost, because of the down. You can't have a vertical down unless you have a horizontal baseline first and foremost. But you still have to go through all the rigmarole. I don't mind. I love it. To explain to them the differences between the two, Newtonian and Einsteinian, because they're not even aware of that. They don't even know that Newtonian's been superseded, and none of them have been proven. So you have to explain that to them still. I don't mind. And it was me that mentioned the YouTube, hopefully not censoring Flat Earth in 2026, because I heard that from one of our colleagues in, 24/7 Flat Earth, there happened to mention it. And
where did you get it from? So where did you hear the information?
Yeah, in 24/7.
No, I got that. But I mean, do you know why they said it?
I didn't ask him where he got it from. No, I didn't go that far. I said, thanks for that. I'm going to look into it myself, and I haven't going to look into it yet.
I mean, that is something that I would like to know. I mean, I preach this a lot, and it's how I was taught in school. When you find something out, I ask myself, what is the primary source of this information? Where did it originate? Who was it originally put that out there? And if it just goes back to Joe Bloggs suggesting that that might be the case, that they should do that, and then someone's taken that and gone, they will be doing that, and then it's Chinese whispers all the way down the line to us, where we go, oh, really? They're going to stop censoring us? Like, not until we've done primary source research and figured out where that information came from can we actually reaffirm it. Otherwise, we're just parroting nonsense because we don't know where it came from.
That's right. That's what I've been looking at. And I did look yesterday, actually. I did look. Didn't find anything in my grapevines. Found nothing there, so I'm still looking. Didn't find anything.
I
be quite
can
honest.
suggest that it's a necessity, right? And I ascribed the credit to us, and I'll continue to do so. Because as we bridge the gap between us and people who measure Earth flat, as you pointed out earlier, they are under the misapprehension they're on a ball, but it's separate when they're doing a video about how they measure trig points, or measure elevations, or fly in straight and level flight, or use mapping or charting or rise over run and surveying. When they do these things, they just describe how they measure Earth flat. They don't think that it's necessary to say, but that's because it's a really big ball. Because that, number one, makes absolutely no sense when you've just described how flat and perpendicular, parallel, or anything else that's axiomatically tied to Earth being measured flat, as they are doing. They just describe how it gets measured. They don't think it's necessary to point out how, well, it's not ball-shaped because why would they? They just describe how they measure it. Now, that's the bridge that we're building. Now, if it is the case that that gets noticed by somebody who's also measuring Earth flat, in this case Google, who are the overlords of the censorship on YouTube also, that doesn't look good, does it?
Yeah, absolutely right. It doesn't look good. But I have enjoyed the material that we were looking at for the past 6 weeks. You know, like you said, the normies who are actually measuring their Earth flat, and that's it, and they're doing a professional job. Now, I've enjoyed using that material and introducing it to the Globers, not the ones on the circuit that we meet on Discord, but the ones that are coming in from the streets now. And when I've explained to them and shown them that those videos, I showed 2 of them, as this is them measuring the Earth flat. Yes, he still thinks he's living on a globe, but look at his action. Look at the action. The action belies the belief. He's believing he's on a globe, but yet he's measuring the Earth dead level flat. Do you understand what we mean by it's measured flat now? All right. Well, I had to do that. And it works.
Another quick shout out to BMR006, who says, Merry Christmas, Nathan and family. Another year of destroying the heliocentric system. You may not be echoing that sentiment. Thank you very much for the super chat, first and foremost. But you may not echo that sentiment next Christmas. That is to say, there may be a huge limitation in terms of how much I personally feel it necessary to destroy the heliocentric system. Live and let live. If you want to believe you're on a ball, be my guest. You'll need flat Earth measurements to do it, has been the sentiment for the last 6 to 8 months, maybe. But ultimately, moving into 2026, I don't feel that that will be as much as a big deal. That is to say, my desire to destroy heliocentrism, I don't want to see myself as an anti-glober.
Hold on, Nathan. Once you establish flat, you are destroying the heliocentric system. It's done and over with. It starts at the measurements and ends at the measurements.
That's not true.
You may not want to be that guy,
that's not
but
true.
You are.
No, that's not true. So where I'm describing building a bridge between us and Normie, who's measuring Earth flat, you say we start and end with the flat Earth measurements. But for Normie, he does still start and end with flat Earth measurements, but once he's ended with the flat Earth measurements, he goes back to believing he's on a ball, or she's on a ball, after measuring Earth flat. There's a lack of cognitive dissonance because it isn't even assessed by your average normal Joe after measuring Earth flat. He doesn't go, well, that's the end of that then. I'm not on a ball, because it's never been connected. That's the bridge I'm talking about in terms of us pointing out that, well, obviously, as a flat earther, I'm going to draw a conclusion and put a full stop after the fact we are measuring Earth flat. But that just means that there's a need to relinquish the censorship performed by people who know it's measured flat, like Google, who are the arbiters of the censorship that we've suffered. Now, that's different to your normie measuring Earth flat and still believing he's on a ball. It doesn't end with his flat Earth measurements, does it, Neil?
No, I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the people that come in and still think there's a debate. And we lay down and explain and demonstrate how Earth is measured flat. Even their ball comes from flat Earth measurements. That's it. Now, if you're talking about the normie videos that we do, yeah, they're measuring it flat, but they still think they're on a globe. They're going to have to come to that understanding when they come to that understanding, and they may never.
Well, I doubt that they may never. I mean, that's a big one there. I do feel that as if the flat Earth movement continues and people like me are out there still, destroying the heliocentric model as it's been put with enjoyment and glee, then that guy will finally get it, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to take people like myself and others who are out there educating people. Because remember, you educate one person, that person goes on to educate others. So it's never going to stop. You know what I mean? It's not. That's the thing. And I'm not going to stop. So one person can make 1 million later on. That's how I see that. So maybe Nathan is slowly moving away from wanting to destroy the heliocentric model.
Is Panda ever going to get it?
Oh, I don't care if he does or not. He knows it's
Well,
flat
that's
anyway.
what I'm saying. Some will never get it.
I'm not talking about them pandas. I'm talking about the people, like you said, Neil, coming in fresh. Those people who are inquiring because they want to know the truth, and they're a little bit confused. And then you help them along. That's it. They're the ones that are going to get it.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about some will never get it. Those are the people I'm talking about.
I don't care
They're
about
never going to get it.
the pandas and that. No, I don't care about the pandas and that, because I know that they know that it's flat. They know that. They've just been, stick in the mud.
No, I still think they're on a globe.
That's not, yeah.
You know who somebody sent me a video from Roohif. Do you remember Roohif? How's that geometric horizon working out? And they sent it me saying, can you cover this on the show? Look at all the flat earth prerequisites this numpty's using. He didn't use that language, the person that sent it me. But ultimately, I was sent it as an example of an anti-flat earther using dozens of flat earth prerequisites in positional information, altitude data, you name it, they were using it. And I had to comment. I had to, pour a little bit of scorn on and ridicule on Roofy in the comments on a 2-year-old video, going, you're in this video saying that you've measured curve for a decade, when in reality, what you've been doing, you dumb fuck, is measuring Earth flat for a decade.
You see, the way you put that, the way you've eloquated that is perfect, because he needed to hear that in that comment, the way you put it. Perfect. So that's what I would have said to him as well. And I said it to him anyway the other day, the Earth is measured flat, and you know that. And I mean, this week I spoke to Roohif, so on the Earth Awakenings. But anyway, but the ordinary man and woman on the street, I don't have that harsh approach to them, of course, because I was like them. So I'm always softly, and just let's help them along. That's what it's all about for me.
I mean, I'd like to ask Roohif, what's your excuse when you were using flat Earth prerequisite heights, elevation, angle measurements for positional information, things of that nature? That would be flat Earth measurements. Was it because you were A, too fucking stupid to realise you were using flat Earth prerequisites, or is it because you're a deceitful shit? In which case, would the public be justified in suggesting you have your balls removed so you don't have any more kids, or that you get pushed off a tall building, or that you get locked up in a mental institution? What's your excuse, Roohif? I'd like to know. Leave me a comment. Did you not realise you were using flat Earth prerequisites for elevation or positional information? Are you just stupid? Is ignorance going to be the excuse, or is it outright deceit? I'd love to know. Jin seems to think you already knew Earth's flat. He's suggesting it with Gem Panda. Well, I'm saying Roohif has professed to be incredibly smart this whole time. So if you're that smart, you didn't know that you needed to measure elevation angle measurements to the stars for the positional information? You didn't realise that you were perpendicular to a plane for the elevations? Do you not realise? Were you just stupid? Or were you a liar? Which one is it? I'd love to know.
He's supposed to be excellent in math. So I don't know how he would not understand measurements.
We're all intrigued, Roohif. Are you a dumb fuck, or are you a lying shitbag? Which one is it, Roohif? I really do want to know. Now, I poured a little bit of scorn on you in your comments section, pointing out that you've been measuring Earth flat for a decade, while you were, lying to your audience about measuring Earth curve? Nobody's measuring Earth curve. You were definitely using flat Earth prerequisite positional information. taken from elevation angles off surface level. You are definitely appealing to the elevation in known altitudes, end quote Roohif in his video. These are planar measurements. So did you know? I mean, seriously, are you stupid? Did you not recognise how flat you were measuring Earth when you gave those data points? You're just stupid, just pretending to be clever. Or did you know? That is to say, you did know they were flat, you just carried on lying to people about measuring curve for a decade? No, you didn't. You took flat Earth data points and pretended they were on a curved surface, violating the base principle of the measurements you appealed to after measuring Earth flat for a straight decade and pouring scorn and ridicule on us. So I want to know. And what should happen to you? Like the main surveyor and Craig and Professor Dave Fraud. What should happen to Roohif? Given that he's professed to be so incredibly smart, now that we're absolutely certain about how flat his measurements are, what should happen to him?
Nathan, you hit it right on the head. Violating axioms. That's exactly what you're doing. Any measurement he gets or takes will never, ever establish curvature. How would he do that? I would love to know how he's done that.
Well, he's appealed to flat Earth prerequisite positional information. He had it on screen with coordinates. And then he appealed to the known elevations.
But that's flat Earth.
Yeah, that's right. That's flat Earth. So either Roohif is a fucking retard, or he's a liar. There's only two options. He's either just fucking stupid, or he's an outright liar. And I want to know. Now, he's poured scorn on me personally. So I want to know, Roohif, are you just fucking stupid? Or did you know you were using flat Earth measurements and you chose to lie anyway? I'd like to know. Then I'd like to know what the punishment should be. Punishment for ignorance, because apparently that's punishable, according to the people who've poured scorn on us for a decade. When they were using flat Earth measurements, Roohif included. Apparently ignorance is no excuse. You should be punished, I was told. So if Roohif's just fucking retarded and didn't realise he's using flat Earth prerequisite positional information taken from elevation angles, then what punishment should he suffer for his ignorance in professing to be so incredibly smart? Or if he knew he was using flat Earth prerequisites and then deceitfully lying about there being curve measured, what should be the punishment then? I mean, there's got to be a punishment, right?
I know. If Riley was here, what would Anthony Riley say? I'll flip his head.
I mean, I'm only putting the standards that's been put to us for the last 10 years to people who have clearly either not got a brain cell in their head. That's Roohif, a dumb shit. Maybe by his own confession, he'll say, I was just too stupid to realise I was using flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements for coordinates and positional data. I'm just too fucking thick to realise. Really? Well, then maybe we should cut your balls off so you can't have any kids and then force you off a tall building to prove gravity, and then lock you in a mental institution if you survive. Like was suggested should happen to me, Roohif, for being fucking retarded and ignorant. Or maybe a more severe punishment, because you knew damn well you were using flat Earth prerequisites, and then lied about curvature anyway. A more severe punishment should perhaps befall Roohif, the scumbag, deceitful liar, or ignorant buffoon. I mean, it doesn't matter which. Punishment is the outcome, according to what we have been told should happen to us for being right about how flat Earth actually is when we measure it flat, like Roohif has been doing for a straight decade.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, because I was talking to Roohif this week on the Earth Awakening server, and we were discussing, I put it the week before that, or a few days before, that in Japan, 3 hikers spent 25 years trying to capture Mount Fuji from mountain ranges which are near the Fukushima area, approximately 200 miles, okay, in distance. They managed it, yeah? And I put that up. I said, look, this is because someone was arguing that they live in Florida and they couldn't see Cuba because the weather was never permitting. I said, well, that's the problem. Sometimes you have to wait a long time for the weather to give you that opportunity. And I gave these 3 hikers in Japan that example. Now, we had what it was so interesting. When was that again? So I gave him the dates. He goes off and looks at it. A few days later, I'm back in the Awakenings, and he happened to mention that, oh yeah, I think I found the article, I translated it, and then he came out with, they said that Fuji was in some kind of that kind of direction. And you know what? I got totally annoyed with him. I said, hang on, you're trying to belittle 25 years of effort and dedication, and you're just trying to like belittle this stuff. That's wrong, I said to him. I said to him, you're lucky I'm not in the same room as you. That's what I said.
Did he
I was
in
so
any way
annoyed with him.
acknowledge that the directionality itself, that's north, south, east and west, are flat and planar?
There you are.
Did
There
he
you go.
acknowledge those things? Or was he just fucking retarded and didn't realise that the directionality itself is planar? What about the distance? Did he acknowledge that it's flat and planar also? Horizontal and linear when you're describing the distances that we'd see these things. What about the
Well, you did that-
elevations? Did retard Roohif acknowledge how height is measured from surface level? Or did this fucking retard not acknowledge any of these flat earth prerequisites that he absolutely
didn't acknowledge
unequivocally wrote? I'm
anything
still
at
talking,
all,
Jin. I'm still
at all.
talking. Jin.
He did not.
Jin, I'm still
Yeah.
in the middle of the sentence.
Sorry.
Did he acknowledge the flight that he would have had to have taken to confirm any of this would be parallel to the surface level for the straight and level horizontal linear distances that they'd have flown over the flat ground? Did he acknowledge the heights to make the observations perpendicular to a plane of reference? Did he acknowledge any of these? Or is Roohif just fucking dumb? Is he too stupid to realise his own use of flat earth prerequisites while he's professing to curve measure over the last decade? He's not. So I want to know, is Roohif stupid? Because he claims to be smart. Well, a smart man would have recognised how the measurements work, how linear the distance is, how flat and parallel the flight would have been to get there, how the height off surface level measured from sea level is a flat earth prerequisite. Now, if he didn't know any of these things, then Roohif's a fucking retard. If he did, he's a liar. Either way, he should be punished.
Well, here's the thing, Nathan. I was thinking as you were saying that, they may come back around and say, well, we missed it just like you all missed it. No, but they can't, because we are putting our foot down on it and we're not stopping. So they can't come back and say,
So by their own standards,
we really
Neil,
just missed it.
So by their own standards, they were a lot slower on the uptake than us. Well, according to their own standards, they shouldn't breed. They should have their kids taken away. They should be castrated and pushed off buildings. Shouldn't they? By their own standards, for being incredibly stupid. So I do genuinely want to know, are you just stupid, Roohif? Did you not recognise how flat Earth must be for all of the measurements that you've appealed to over the last decade? Or is it just that you were lying about the violation of the axiomatic principles you used in the measurements to appeal to a curve that you definitely aren't measuring? Either way, you should be punished by the standards that have been put to us for the last 10 straight years. Now, given how dumb you must be, given how slow you've been to catch up on these facts, I think the punishment for Roohif should be more severe. For being incredibly stupid, for being 10 years a fool. Very, very slow on the uptake if he claims ignorance. Yeah? He shouldn't be polluting the world with more children by the standards put to me. Yeah? If he's got children, they should be taken off him by the standards that have been put to me, based on his abject stupidity and inability to recognise the flat earth prerequisites he's been using. Now, if he's been saying he's very smart, then he always knew he was a fucking liar.
Well, you could go to the pub and line up the shots of bleach.
Yeah. Is that what you should be doing, Roohif? Taking shots of bleach like we've had suggested? Getting your balls cut off and forced off tall buildings to perform a justification for a downward vector perpendicular to a plane in 110-year out-of-date gravity? Or did you not notice, you dumb shit? Which is it? Ignorance or deceit, Roohif? I do want to know. Because you are either thick or a liar. There's no other option. There's not a third choice in this. You're either stupid and didn't realise that you were measuring Earth flat for 10 years, whilst lying, that's the other alternative, about out measuring curve was something you were achieving? What, with horizontal linear distances? Perpendicular, planar, heights off surface level measured from sea level? No, definitely not. What Roohif has been doing for 10 straight years is using flat Earth measurements. So I want to know, are you stupid or are you a liar? And then when we establish it, we'll figure out what the punishment should be. We'll just use the standards that have been put to us, I feel. Only reasonable. I mean, I'm joking. This is being done for the fun of example. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, wished the things that have been suggested should happen to me. Castration, locked up in mental institutions, and children being removed from my tutelage. That's my kids being taken away. Being forced off tall buildings. That's to say, being killed. For being right! Now, given that this is Roohif specifically, is definitely wrong about his inference that he was measuring curve when utilising flat Earth measurements 6 ways from Sunday, I wouldn't wish he had the same sort of egregious suggestions put to him. Absolutely outrageous. I'm just holding a mirror up to the fucking disgusting behaviour that we've had to tolerate from you dumb wankers who are wrong this entire time. Because you are always using miles and kilometres in a linear horizontal distance measurement. You are always using perpendicularity to a planar surface when describing altitudes. You are always flying over the surface level parallel with it in flight level. You are always measuring the sun with elevation angle measurements for time. You are always suggesting that you've got a ball Earth when measuring the sun for 24 hours in the case of the Antarctic bullshit. You are all measuring Earth flat. You're just dumb. Like too slow to realise how flat you were measuring Earth while suggesting you were all on balls? Dumbos. Yeah? Now, far be it for me to suggest that punishment, but the public might be a lot less forgiving of you. You dumb bastards that were lying to them. Well, hasn't that been a fun Christmas Eve? Have we all had a lot of fun? I know I have. Me, I've got nothing to worry about. I'll be making more and more connections with the normies of society who do measure Earth flat. Like I say, the reason I'm talking about Roohif is someone sent me one of his videos and said, look how flat Earth Roohif is measuring. Look how flat the positional information Roohif is using. Look how flat the height data is that Roohif is using. Now, I wouldn't class Roohif as a normie. There's no need for me to go through his video here, because there's plenty of other people who aren't pouring scorn on flat Earth as anti-flat earthers that I can go to. People who are sniffing their own farts whilst telling us how flat they measure Earth, as opposed to just using the flat Earth measurements that Roohif's too dumb to notice, to say that they're on a curved surface, violating the base principle of the directionality, the altitude, the surface level, the distance, the coordinates, all of the things Roohif was using and just didn't notice because he's dumb as shit. Or a liar. No, I'd much prefer to build the bridge with the normal people who just measure Earth flat and don't then pour scorn on flat earthers and pretend how smart they are when they're actually dumb as shit. That is to say, my belief is that Roohif's just a fucking retard. Just really, really stupid. And didn't notice how flat he was measuring Earth the whole time, because he's dumb. Like a real retard. That's what I think is the case. He'll plead ignorance. I didn't notice that these coordinates required flat Earth surface level measurements with elevation angles. I just didn't realise that the height was measured from sea level. I didn't know that miles were linear and horizontal. Oh, didn't you, you dumb shit? Punishment all the same, I feel the public will feel. I mean, I don't feel that, but the public seemed fit to suggest that's what should happen to us. In the face of us being right. But given how wrong you are, we'll let the public decide what should happen to you, what your fate should be. Given how egregious your incorrect assertions about Earth curve have been over the last decade. You've been measuring Earth flat, Roohif. Maybe you haven't noticed because you're too stupid. Maybe you knew all along. Who knows? Who cares? What's that I hear from the public? Cut his balls off anyway, force him off a tall building, make him drink bleach and take his kids away? I mean, I don't feel like that. I'm just echoing the sentiments that we've had put to us for being correct about how flat Earth is measured. So happy Christmas. Was fun had by all?
Absolutely. Happy Flat Earth Christmas. Yeah.
Well, there's not going to be an after show because I intended only to do a live show. I have recorded it, so I can still release this at a later date. But is there anything anybody wants to add? Any sentiments that people want to put out to the audience? Like I say, me holding a mirror up in terms of what I've suffered for 10 years isn't my sentiment. I'm just making it absolutely clear. In case the cowards go, oh no, he said we should drink bleach. No, I didn't say that. I've pointed out that that's what you've told me I should do for 10 straight years. Now that we know you're wrong, I'm putting it as a question. Should the things that have been put to us should apply to you now that we know for sure and without a doubt Earth is measured flat by everyone, even the bull-believing cunts who told us that they were measuring a sphere. They weren't. They were either dumb or liars. But now we know the reality. Happy Christmas, one and all. Is there any sentiment anybody wants to put out?
I was thinking like flat Earth is kind of like those 3D pictures, where you cross your eyes and then all of a sudden there's a 3D image. And like once you cross your eyes, you almost can't stop seeing it. It's the simplest thing in the world to just look at any of the globe proof they're going to show us and go, well, there's the flat part. It's level. It's horizontal. It's right in the middle of the circle they put on in the picture. It's the bottom part of the triangle they put in the picture. It's the easiest stuff in the world, and we get harangued about it. And I don't think that's right, but I'm willing to go forward with a kind of kid gloves. It'll be different from how I got to flat Earth, but if I could help anyone else get there a little gentler, I'll do it.
A little gentler? So, it's really easy to point out how flat the coordinate system used to describe where you are positionally is, that Roohif was using when suggesting he'd been measuring curve for a decade. You're saying that's really easy? I mean, that must make Roohif incredibly stupid then, if he couldn't see the wood for the trees whilst using those very obvious flat Earth measurements. That just makes him stupid then. Would you not agree?
Well, yeah, stupid or he's lying.
Actual anti-flat Earthers are liars.
You just think liar. So we'll take votes on it, Roohif, whether or not you're dumb as fuck or a liar. We'll take votes. So far, we've got a couple of people that think you're just stupid. I'm one of them. I just think you're incredibly thick. I didn't really notice how flat it really was when I used the flat Earth data points. Yeah, that's what I think Roohif will do. Claim ignorance after professing to be so smart for 10 straight years. No, you just didn't notice how flat you were measuring it the whole time, did you, dumb fuck? Really? All right, so ignorance then. All right, okay, we won't force you off a building. We'll just cut your balls off and take your kids away, yeah? Seems reasonable. I mean, what? The standard that was put to us isn't reasonable when it's you shown to be a dumb fuck. Not reasonable to suggest you drink bleach. No, I don't think you'd find that reasonable at all, would you, Roohif? What's that? You did know you were measuring Earth flat with elevation angles for positional coordinate information. You did know that distance measurements were horizontal and linear. You did know that. So you are a liar. Force him off a building to prove gravity as he's falling perpendicular to a plane of reference. He'll be screaming out, I didn't mean to lie! Right? Oh, like I say, I'm just holding a mirror up. Yeah? Ultimately, it'll be the public to decide your fate for being dumb or for lying. Because there's no third option here. What are you going to do? Find yourself in the hard place where you deny those positional information data points that you were using in your videos? Deny the horizontal linear distance measurements or the flat Earth prerequisites to fly anywhere? You're going to deny them? Well, then you don't have any data points anymore to utilise your bullshittery about measuring curve, as you've done for a decade. What's that? You just didn't notice? Just thick? Yeah, that's what I put my money on. Roohif being a dumb shit. So somebody sent me a video to use in the fashion that we've been using normies, and it was Roohif in this instance. So yeah, I must admit I did pour a little bit of scorn in his comment section, pointing out how dumb he was using flat Earth measurements for a straight decade to say he's measuring curve. What a retard.
Can you keep it clean for Christmas Eve so Paula doesn't have to keep muting?
My bad. It's hard not to become the monster that you've been fighting, isn't it, Neil? Very difficult. But for those of you out there that are
Paula,
like, it's not fair.
It's very hard, and Paula is very understanding, but it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you're right. I'll tone it down a little bit. It is the end of the show, though. I was asking for any further sentiments. I'll try and calm my blood pressure down and stop suggesting.
Humbug. Humbug.
Well, there's no need for the high blood pressure anymore. You're in proper standing and everything right now, Nathan. With the book, with flat Earth measurements, you are in great standing. So the only blood pressure that should be rising is their blood pressure.
Yes, it's going to be rising with a horizontal constant constantly on their tails. Yes, of course. Of course they're going to be in trouble. Of course their blood pressure is going to overheat and boil. And yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that in 2026.
Well, they're trying to portray like it's that it's not affecting them and that they're calm, cool, and collected. But inside, you know that they are squirming.
They're crying, Neil. What? When they said flat Earth is over, I said, what do you mean it's over? I'm still here, right? They're crying, they're hoping, they're desperate. They're wishing for wishing's sake is all they live for. Wishing and hoping.
It's when we get to see their true colours. See, in reality, the kind of person that's pouring scorn on a minority with the entire consensus in belief behind them through the ignorance that they utilise flat Earth measurements with, that's a coward. Now I'm going to look down the barrel of my camera and call these people what they are. For you to point your bony fingers at a minority and suggest ill treatment of that minority because you've got the consensus behind you, that makes you a coward. And as Neil points out, I would expect them to be cacking their pants at the turning point when the consensus that they've had behind them to pour scorn and ridicule on a minority group suddenly isn't the case anymore. Suddenly the consensus that was behind them starts looking at them with a big frown. I'd expect these people to piss their pants because they're cowards. Roohif's a coward. Craig McNeil's a coward. Professor Dave Explains is a coward. All of these people. Dave McKeegan, coward. All of you.
Simon Dan.
Coward. But we'll see. The times they are a-changing.
So Nathan, this is what I was thinking. Who is going to be the first one that comes out? That's what I'm looking at now. I wonder who the first one's going to be to take that step and acknowledge what we all know to be.
Well, I would hope it's Simon Dan, because he's shown hints that people would point to. We don't only measure Earth flat, says Simon Dan, end quote. Okay, so you know we measure Earth flat then. So this person, if he retains the bullshittery of ball suggestion, will be one of the first that the public look at him and go, you said we don't only measure Earth flat. That means you knew. And you carried on lying? Now, I would expect there to be people who are pretty pissed, pitchforks and torches, and are out for blood when it comes to people that they can definitely say knew. Simon Dan's one of them. So I'd hope it would be him first, to put his hands in the air and go, it was ignorance. I was just stupid. Didn't realise that measuring Earth flat means it's flat, exactly as is measured. And when I said we don't only measure Earth flat, I was under the misapprehension that there was also curve measurements. Beyond the flat measurements I absolutely knew we were measuring. By my own admission. Now, if he doesn't, and he doubles down on his lie, then I'd expect the public to treat him with contempt. We'll see. We'll see how big a coward these people are. So, big boy pants time.
I think Dan is stunning and brave.
Stunning and brave? I don't think so.
Well, you got to be brave to walk around with a haircut like that.
I've got no room to talk in that regard. Right, I will do one more call. Any more for any more?
Well, we're just happy that you had a show today. It was unexpected, but thank you.
My pleasure. Anybody else?
Merry Christmas to all the Flat Earth friendlies.
Yes, Merry Christmas to everybody, Discord, everybody listening on YouTube. Merry Christmas from the Cosentino clan.
And from me, so another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Happy Christmas, one and all, and I'll see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.